Are you living in Kitchener Waterloo and feeling conflicted about selling your house or buying one first? Well, in this video, I will talk about the pros and cons of both scenarios so that you can make a decision that's right for you and wave that stress goodbye. At the end of the video, I'll reveal a special clause that you can include in your offer as the buyer if you found a home that you love but haven't yet sold yours, to help you put your mind at ease and maybe even give you a leg up. This is one of the most asked questions in real estate, and one that I really wish I had a crystal ball for to answer. When considering if you should buy or sell first, there is one very important thing to consider here, and that is the market. Depending on the current market in KW and what your expectations are, the end result can look different for everyone. So let's talk about what the pros and cons are if you choose to buy before you sell, and vice versa. Let's start with selling first and go over the pros. If you sell your home before you buy, you will know exactly what you have to work with for buying your next home because you will have received a firm offer in hand. If by chance your house sold for more than expected, then your buying power should increase along with that, allowing you to look for purchase options that you may not have previously considered. That could be either a bigger home or a home located in a more expensive neighborhood. Additionally, in a fast-moving market, if you present an offer to a seller and you don't need to add a condition on the sale of your current house, this can help to give you a leg up and will be more appealing to that seller. Sellers can feel more confident in accepting your offer if they know your house is sold firm than they would with someone who is unable to give them that firm guarantee. The less worry for the seller means the less worry for you too. Now let's talk about the cons. If you've sold your home and you need to buy another, this isn't a bad position to be in. And if you've spent some time already browsing active listings, you may have found some that you really like, but you've got to be prepared that it may not always be so easy. In a slow-moving market, you should have a little more time and control over your home search and the offers you present. But if inventory is low at the time, you may not be able to find something that you like. While on the other hand, in a fast-moving market where you absolutely need to buy, you can run into multiple offer scenarios that could drag on this process for longer than you had hoped. If you do decide to sell first, understanding the current market that you're in can also help you figure out the best closing date for the sale of your house that you can hopefully match up with your new purchase. Now, let's go into reverse and talk about buying before you sell. We'll go over the pros first again. If you've been thinking about making that move for a while, you've got your finances in order, and you've linked up with a great mortgage advisor to get you that pre-approval that you are comfortable with, this strategy could be for you. For example, if we're in a hot market and that dream home that checks all the boxes suddenly appears before your eyes, you've got to act fast. Because you've gotten all your ducks in a row in anticipation of this possibility, it could translate into a buy before sell scenario for you. Or, say for example, your heart is set on one particular neighborhood or type of home that doesn't see a ton of inventory in a year, maybe in a spot like Hidden Valley in Kitchener, for example. You may want to hold off on the sale of your home until something pops up, or be open to looking in other areas that could still get you what you want at a similar price point to get things moving a bit faster. There are things you can do to prepare you to get your house up on the market as quickly as possible after your purchase, should this situation arise. Check out my video called How to Sell Your House in 30 Days or Less in Kitchener Waterloo for a week-by-week simplified breakdown to make this a stress-free transition for you and your family. Now let's go over the cons. Firstly, you won't really know for certain what you have to work with in terms of affordability for that next house. Your realtor should have provided you with what's called a comparative market analysis to give you an idea of what your home should sell for in the current market based on recent sales of similar style homes in your area. But again, depending on the market, the price it actually sells for might not meet your expectations. And if you've bought already, you could be in a bit of a pickle here. This is why it's always important to have a contingency in place if you need to come up with more money to make that down payment in a pinch. Just because you're approved for up to a certain amount, it doesn't necessarily mean that you should max out at that number. And lastly, there's always that question of, what if my house doesn't sell fast enough? Doing your due diligence before making any big moves can help to alleviate these worrisome thoughts. For example, speak to your mortgage advisor about what's called bridge financing to see if this is something you can qualify for. So, say if you buy a house first and then sell yours, but the closing dates don't line up, you may be able to bridge that gap without having to stress. Now, remember that clause I was talking about earlier? Well, in a hot market, the seller could be a bit more tricky to convince. But in a more balanced market, you have the option to include what's called a flexible closing clause. The intent of this clause is to be written in such a way to protect you as the buyer, but to also be much more favorable to the seller. Instead of including your typical, this offer is conditional upon the sale of the buyer's home, you would instead insert a clause that allows you as the buyer to delay the closing day by a predetermined amount of time, which is typically 30 days. So if your house doesn't sell within the time frame agreed upon in the initial offer, you as the buyer can push out that date. This clause removes the if for the seller and gives them a when instead. They can feel confident in knowing that the deal will close when you sell your house during that predetermined and agreed upon amount of time, instead of worrying that the deal might not close if you don't sell your house. But the caveat is that it takes away your ability as the buyer to walk away if your house doesn't sell, which is a heck of a lot more favorable to the seller, but might not be to you if we're in a bit of a slow market. So to recap, it's clear by now that the buying and selling journey can look different for everyone. And that means there may be other factors to consider in addition that I didn't touch on here. The important things to take away when considering to buy or sell first are that it depends on the market, it depends on what your expectations are, and most importantly, it depends on what you're comfortable with. I myself have been in this scenario where it ended up working out seamlessly because the circumstances lined up, but this isn't always the case. That's why looking after your best interest should always be top priority. All right, now that we've talked that through, you're now sitting there wondering, should I even sell my home at all? Though it's a bit outdated, you love your location and it has the potential to be everything you need and more. But how? Well, join me in my next video where I'll talk about 5 creative renovations you could do that will make you fall in love with your home all over again so that you don't actually have to list it. Reach out to me at any time if you'd like to talk some more, if you have any questions, or just to say hello. I love new friends, and you can bet your bottom I'll have coffee in hand for us. In the meantime, I hope you're having an amazing day. See you soon.